founder at Abra, and we've got a lot to talk about today. So just so everybody knows, the ground rules, what we're doing here, we're streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, Twitch. I've got the Clubhouse app going here. So we're going to take questions all over the place. I've got questions coming in already. Really cool. We got this thing on YouTube where people love to identify what country they're from, and we already got, I see like a dozen countries, so it's pretty cool. U.S., of course, then we got, I see Laos, I see Philippines, I see the Dominican Republic, I see Pakistan, super cool. And similar on Clubhouse, I recognize some folks already from different countries. So let's get to it. All right, I got a bunch of things I want to talk about. Let's we got to start with Bitcoin, of course. Bitcoin is moving sideways, right? So let's talk about February 1st, right? Bitcoin retraced about 20% from the highs, which is pretty much the second time it's done that, but it still finished 30% higher in February, which was a fifth consecutive month of positive returns, all right? So I think that basically we're going to be sideways for a little bit, but to me, we're still in a super bullish posture here, all right? So I'm buying every dip that I can. And the other thing I wanted to mention is retail volume. So I think in November, December, maybe early January, we were seeing a lot of high net worth buying, 6-7 figure buys, a lot of institutional buying, a little bit of hedge fund buying. Now, come late January into February, we're seeing huge retail buying. That means, everybody and their mother's getting back into Bitcoin. And Ethereum to some degree. So this is interesting to me. And I have not seen a significant pullback in retail volume over the last 2 to 3 weeks. I would say last week the retail volume was a little bit less, a little muted, but by and large, retail is back when it comes to Bitcoin. So that's really exciting. All right. So now let's go to Ethereum, talk about what's going on there. So some interesting news on the Ethereum front, right? So first of all, first climb to 2,000 all-time high, and then a retrace to 1,400, and we're in that 15 to 1650 range right now. A couple of interesting news items, as I mentioned. First, there was a February 26th community call where it was clarified that this Ethereum improvement proposal, EIP 1559, whatever that means, it's basically going to turn ETH into a deflationary asset. Now, if this happens, this is a huge, huge change for Ethereum. Now, in addition to that, this is going to reduce miners' revenues by 20 to 30% because of the scalability improvements to Ethereum. Now, of course, miners don't like this because they made a lot of money the last few months charging everybody exorbitant fees to get their transactions published on the Ethereum network. And I don't think the miners are going to have much choice. Now, long term, I think this is super bullish for Ethereum because it's going to create some scalability. If miners decide that they can't afford or that Ethereum is not as profitable as it was before, we could see some miners leaving the network, although I'm not really personally convinced that's going to happen. All right. But we will see. I think, again, my posture on Ethereum has been, as I've told you before, I feel like Ethereum is looking even more bullish in some ways than Bitcoin in terms of price action, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see at least 5,000 Ethereum this year, if not higher. Okay, so let's see. What else is interesting to me right now? Why don't we talk about Cardano for a minute? All of you know I've been pretty bullish on Cardano. What an insane, incredible run-up for Cardano. It's up 281% in February. It was by far the best among its peers, including Bitcoin in terms of price performance. And the trading volume that we've seen across the board in ADA has been just astonishing. So the other thing is that the Mary protocol update went live, and this is a big deal. I think this is a lot of why the price run-up was happening in the first place, also why I've been really bullish on Cardano beyond just its scaling capabilities. What the protocol upgrade does is it basically starts to make Cardano look like Ethereum in terms of smart contracts, ERC20 type tokens, ERC721, which is NFTs, And that's all really interesting because, one, it gives us some competition for Ethereum, which I'm really bullish on. And it also tells us that the team is meeting their kind of global open source deadlines for this, which is pretty cool. And I've also seen some announcements about some large crypto funds moving into Cardano. Now, usually when a fund moves into an asset like Cardano, it's at the expense of a Bitcoin or some other altcoin positions. So we'll see how large some of those movements are. But if this run continues for Cardano, it could actually have a halo effect on another crypto alt season, which would be super interesting. All right, so I think on the alt front, let's talk about Chainlink for a second. Yeah, okay, there we go. So we're going to bring up Chainlink. It's right at about 27, but it reached an all-time high of 37, which is pretty astounding. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Chainlink and what it does, Chainlink is basically a platform for running price oracles. What is a price oracle? So if you have a smart contract, for example, a smart contract could be something that says if the price of the dollar versus oil goes up, you pay me money. If the price of the dollar versus oil goes down, I pay you money. Now, the smart contract running, let's say, on Ethereum or Cardano needs to know that price. A price oracle will supply that price data to the contract whenever it needs that data. And Chainlink has staked the claim as basically being out in the forefront and one of the leaders in this new kind of oracle movement, which is what we need to enable these decentralized systems. And as a result of the huge interest in smart contracts and DeFi and other services, Chainlink's price has exploded in the past year along with other DeFi services. So while there was a bit of a pullback after reaching the highs, and we're at about, I'm looking at a chart, about 27 right now, everything is also looking super bullish for Link, the token. So they also unveiled that they're going to be doing this what they call off-chain reporting upgrade, and this really improves apparently the data efficiency amongst all of the Chainlink oracles for the different price feeds. They also announced that a company in South Korea, I forget the name right now, is going to be one of their first customers to use a Chainlink oracle for Bitcoin-based payments, which I think is also really interesting. Okay, so I see that folks have their hands raised. I've got questions on YouTube. Give me a minute here. I will get to you in just one moment. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is some of the interesting news that we saw this month on the Bitcoin front, right? So of course the big news was the Tesla announcing the 1.5 billion purchase in Bitcoin. Huge news there. Big Bitcoin's price spike when that happened. We had a MasterCard announcement. They're going to support crypto payments for merchants. I think that's a big deal as well. Now, of course, we can't go talking about Bitcoin and institutions without MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy had announced a $690 million convertible note, but that ended up being over a $1 billion note, I assume, because it was oversubscribed. But again, the size of the offering was huge, and MicroStrategy is well into the money on the Bitcoin purchases they've made over the last few months. BlackRock announced that they've started to dabble in Bitcoin. I'm not really sure what dabble means, but of course that's super bullish as well. You probably remember BNY Mellon made an announcement that they're going to hold and transfer Bitcoin on behalf of their asset management clients. So really interesting. Bitcoin hit 1 trillion in market cap. This was all within a few days, all of these announcements. So Square announced that they've bought 170 million worth of Bitcoin. A lot of people ask me, by the way, does Abra hold a lot of Bitcoin on its balance sheet? I get this question pretty much every week. The answer is yes. We actually don't have to buy Bitcoin because most of our Bitcoin or most of our revenue is generated in Bitcoin. So we actually need to sell Bitcoin on occasion to pay bills in dollars, but we're holding a huge amount of our profits now in Bitcoin. I'm actually not even sure. We generate revenue every day, so I have to go back and check every single day how much Bitcoin we have, but it's growing fast. It's in the millions and it's growing fast. So yeah, Abra is fully committed to holding Bitcoin on our balance sheet as well. The first Bitcoin ETF finally launched in North America, and no, it was not in the United States. Those of you outside the US, a Bitcoin ETF is an exchange-traded fund. Effectively, it allows you to buy Bitcoin as if it were a stock on a stock market. In this case, the ETF launched in Canada. And yeah, and there's more. I mean, I'm just scratching the surface. February and early March so far have been insane for Bitcoin announcements. So that's it for some of the announcements. Now, one of the other things I want to show you all here. This is a little nutty, okay, but I think it's interesting. This is a log curve of Bitcoin price movement over the last 10 years or so, including major retracements from the highs. Okay. Now, obviously, this is not a huge data set because it's really only 3 retracements so far. But if history is going to leave us some clues here, we're in for quite a ride over the next few months. Now, for those of you on Clubhouse, you can't see, I'm showing a chart that basically has this massive log-based run-up from basically 10 cents all the way up to where we are now at 50K. But it looks like if we get a similar set of retracements over the next year or so, Bitcoin could easily top out in this cycle at anywhere from 100,000 to 300,000. Now that seems like a huge price range, but when you look at it in log chart terms, small movements on retracements have a huge sensitivity to this model. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a $200,000 to $250,000 top before we see a major retracement and then another run towards a couple of million. So we're in for quite a few years, I think, of pretty awesome run-ups. The way I've been explaining this to friends lately is I feel like all of us are on the front lines. It's like we're almost like Navy SEALs in the front lines of a massive movement that's about to happen. And as such, we basically bear the brunt of these price movements towards a model where Bitcoin ultimately comes super stable over time. Right. And we'll see when that happens. I think it's probably 6-7 years out when Bitcoin starts to stabilize, when the price probably reaches something like 20 trillion to 25 trillion. I have no crystal ball, but that's my feeling right now. So the other thing I would be remiss if I didn't talk about, of course, is NFTs. We got to talk about NFTs. So first of all, those of you on Clubhouse, you've seen this. Not a day goes by when there's not multiple Clubhouse sessions on NFTs. So what are NFTs? NFT stands for non-fungible token. Now, this is the opposite of a traditional cryptocurrency like a Bitcoin, for example, where the idea is that if I have one Bitcoin and you have one Bitcoin and we swap them, we have exactly what we started with. In other words, they were completely fungible. The idea of a non-fungible token is that what the token I'm holding is not equal to the token you're holding. So that might be something like a collectible. Maybe you remember the crypto kitty craze from a few years ago. I think it was 2017. So there's lots of these kind of artists generating NFTs now representing all kinds of different artworks. Here I've got Kings of Leon is one of my favorite groups from a few years ago. They just announced that they're releasing an NFT to coincide with their new album. A lot of this is really cool because it gives artists a way to monetize their work, bypassing record labels and others that have traditionally taken a lot of money at the expense of the artist. So Gary Vaynerchuk has been coming out. Gary's always been talked about baseball and collectibles and things like that. So he loves NFTs, and he's been talking about NFTs nonstop. And so I'm trying to get him to come on Money Talks in the next couple of months and give us his perspective on where he thinks collectibles is going. Shamath Palihapitiya, Mark Cuban, a whole bunch of other people have been talking about NFTs. Mark Andreessen was on a show last night, or I think it was 2 nights ago. So you've probably seen some of these art auctions, right, that have been happening. Sotheby's has been talking about NFTs. This is all within a few weeks. I mean, nobody was talking, well, almost no one was talking about this stuff like late last year or even mid last year. Now, I can't go with a day without basically being invited to participate in some huge auction, right? So before I get into any of the AMA stuff, I want to talk about support and what's going on with Abra. So we have experienced record influx of users over the last 90 days. Now, we get a certain amount of support requests for every 100 users that come in the system, and we were not like ready for that volume. So if you have a pending support request that's more than a few days old, I would invite you to resubmit the request. We are almost caught up now. We've literally tripled the support team over the last few weeks. It's taken us a long time to get everyone up to speed, but they're really all the customer client services people, support staff. They're working weekends, overtime, whatever they can. So if you do have an important request pending, go ahead and resubmit it. Support@abra.com. I won't be able to talk about individual wallet questions today. There's too many of you here online through all the different channels, okay? But I do want to talk about general questions on crypto and where it's going. So again, support@abra.com. If you're on the Facebook or YouTube channel and you want to ask somebody a question, they can probably answer directly in the stream. So let me know if you have some questions. So maybe we'll start off. I have a few more comments, but there's a bunch of people that have been waiting, so I'm going to move some people up to the audience. Maybe we'll start with Clubhouse, and this is super high tech. So what I do is I hold the Clubhouse, my phone by the mic here to take some questions. So let's see. Let's go reverse order. Hey, Cameron, good morning. Welcome to Money Talks. Did you have a question for us or a comment that you wanted to share? I think Cameron's on mute, so maybe he'll fix that. Randall, did you have a question or a comment that you wanted to share with us? Good morning.
Hey, Bill, I appreciate the opportunity. In the past, you have mentioned that you get requests from institutions to help them better understand cryptocurrency in general, oftentimes Bitcoin in particular. I think you're well suited for to fulfill those requests, and I'm curious, how have those requests changed over the past 12 months in terms of frequency, in terms of content, in terms of when you go to a meeting like that, who's in attendance? Is it a big group or a small group? Are there decision makers or analysts? That sort of stuff. Anything you can help on that side? And then if you felt comfortable sharing a little bit about the magnitude of change that you see specifically at Abra with clients, any way you want to quantify that?
Yeah, Randall, fantastic questions. So, Cameron, I see your mic's unmuted. We'll get to you in a minute. So let me just talk about institutions, and then I'll talk about the changes at Abra. So on the institutional front, I've been talking about this quite a lot. I went from basically mostly spending a lot of time with high net worth individuals and other people that I was helping, investor relations. Now, the number of institutions that I talk to on a weekly basis has gone from, almost like sub 5 per month to sometimes 5 to 10 a day, right? And so the inbound requests from institutions who are saying, hey, a couple of things. One, should I actually be buying Bitcoin with my corporate balance sheet? I know Abra's talked about the fact that it does this, and Square and Tesla, of course, Tesla woke everyone up to this idea. The idea, of course, being that the purchasing power of the dollar. By the way, we didn't talk about inflation. I don't want to regress too much, but there was a lot of debates this week around whether we're underreporting inflation, and I think we are dramatically. But now the institutions are saying, well, if the purchasing power of my treasury is going to shit, maybe I should be buying some Bitcoin because this seems to be the best inflation hedge that we might have going. That's number one. Number two is, well, wait a minute. Abra is offering 10% return on dollars, right? You guys basically can take a deposit you claim in any amount. One, how is Abra able to do this? And we'll come back to that. I've got a lot of questions on that this morning already. And can I do that with my corporate treasury? In other words, can I earn 10% on my treasury, some portion of it, if I deposit it at Abra? And so in both cases, the answer is yes. One, we think that even corporations should be holding 1 to 5% of long-term liquid assets in Bitcoin. And two, if you're putting treasury in money markets, it makes no sense to just leave it 100% of it in money markets earning 0.1 to 0.15% a year, when you can take 15, 20% of it, move it into an investment earning 10% a year, and 5x to 10x the returns, actually more than that if you're putting 20% in, like 15, 20x the returns of the overall portfolio on a cash basis at unbelievably low risk. So yeah, Randall, this is something that we're seeing every day. We have lots of institutional clients onboarding into Abra now, in addition to just the retail. One of the things I love about Abra is that we have people from every socioeconomic background using our app. And I mean every. I spent a lot of time earlier in my life in Haiti. We have users in the poorest countries in the world, and people, some of the richest people that I've ever met, all using Abra, the same app. If you're in Cameroon, and I saw somebody here before in Cameroon, or in Makati, I saw somebody Manila based in Makati, in the Philippines, or in in Los Angeles, and you put $1 million in Abra, you're all using the same app. It's 100% the same. I've never seen that before. I've never seen such a range of socioeconomic backgrounds effectively doing the same thing, all realizing that we need to be in Bitcoin. That is super cool. So the biggest changes that I've seen in Abra, Randall, over the last kind of, I would say, let's go back 60 days now, because it's been tremendous. Like, our business has doubled twice, like, over the last few months, right? Last 4 months, right? But let's just talk about the last 60 days. Just the sheer number of downloads and people registering. The early crypto buyers who are now saying, well, maybe it makes sense for me to be holding my Bitcoin off of an exchange into an app like Abra, who I trust, who's going to pay me interest on that. And by the way, I can take the Bitcoin out anytime I want and move it into cold storage. That's a pretty cool deal. So we have a tremendous number of people now over the last 60 days moving off of exchanges, Coinbase, Kraken, whatever, onto Abra and signing up for the interest accounts. That business has exploded for us. And so that hasn't, even with like the last week or so, with a little bit of the exchange volume coming down, we haven't seen a slowdown in that piece of the business at all. Now, at the same time, everybody's raging around DeFi still, right? We're seeing huge interest in all of the DeFi-oriented tokens, and our trading volume, not only in Bitcoin and Ethereum, but everything related to DeFi is on the move as well. So those are two really, I think, concrete examples that I can give you of significant changes we've seen. All right, thank you for that, Randall. Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for the great questions. Cameron, how's your mic? You good to go? You got a question for us? Oh, your audio is a little iffy. Let's try it, Cameron. Yeah, Cameron, we unfortunately we can't hear you. Your connection is not very good. I'm gonna mute you, Cameron, and sorry, I'm gonna go to someone else while we try to get your mic fixed again. Hakub, I'm not sure if I'm saying your name right. Is it Hakub or Hakub?
Close.
Hakub.
Long ago. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Hey, Bill, how are you doing?
I'm great. How about yourself?
Hey, doing all right.
Where are you from?
Taking the dog for a walk. I'm in New York right now.
Okay, great. Okay, enjoy the snow. So what's going on? What can we do for you?
Yeah. So I had a couple of questions. So I wanted to clarify the EIP 1559. I know that a lot of the miners are kind of up in arms about the fees going down, but wouldn't it be additive to the price, which would make like the fees in dollar terms go up? And I'll hold off on the other questions, but I'd like to hear your take on that.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I think that this is additive, or this will have a net positive effect on throughput, the price long term. And so the reduction in gas fees that they'll see in the short term is going to be more than made up by the throughput in the system, the usage of Ethereum. Look, the public has accepted that Bitcoin is digital gold right now. And part of that was the result of the debate around should we be scaling Bitcoin on chain for payments, right? And it was decided that wouldn't happen. Ethereum is going in a different direction, but Ethereum is meant to be the world's computer for running lots of things, including payment transactions. So this type of upgrade makes perfect sense for Ethereum. And I think it's going to happen. I think the miners are going to have to capitulate to this. Otherwise, they're going to end up in a situation where you have this kind of user-activated soft fork, which is what we had with Bitcoin. And it's going to happen. And lo and behold, they're going to realize that they're going to make a lot more money going forward, because I think what's going to happen if Ethereum 2.0 really works is you're going to start to see stablecoins move into other areas of our lives. There's no reason why we can't be using stablecoins for merchant payments, supply chain finance, P2P loan origination in certain like developing markets where P2P loans are really popular, meaning non-bank consumer loans. Today, that's not feasible because if you want to do those types of payments, they're too expensive. But if the costs come down, I believe that that's what's going to happen, and the miners, ironically, are going to end up making way more money than they would have if this upgrade didn't happen. That's my take. Did you have a second part to that?
Thanks for the clarification. My other questions are, one, how do you feel about the decentralization of the token stakers? I know that the Ethereum Foundation holds a huge stake, and then there are some larger whales. Does that impact the governance any? Should we be concerned? And then the other question would be around Abra. I was wondering how secure is the platform, and could you talk a little bit about how sustainable the interest rates are?
Yeah, great questions. Wow, okay, we're off to a good start on questions. So a couple of things. The staking, the phase 0 for Ethereum was a huge success. I mean, the amount of Ethereum being staked out of the gates, I actually was very surprised. I did not think that it would happen that quickly. I'm not worried about staking centralization right now and governance. I think that everybody's kind of incentivized to do the right thing here. And there's a little bit of mutually assured destruction going on in terms of not doing the right thing. And so I think over time, once the initial stakes get unlocked, I think you'll see even more decentralization in the Ethereum network. I do think Ethereum has to take a little bit of a step backwards in order to launch proof of stake from a centralization perspective. But long term, I think it's a net positive for the network. It's not trying to be Bitcoin. It's not trying to be a decentralized digital gold. It's trying to be a world computer. So I don't have too much concern about that. I think it's been handled really well. I think they realized they bit off more than they could chew back when they announced all of this, and they took a step back, and they seem to be, when I say they, I mean the community at large, everyone that's involved in doing this is doing it in a responsible way. So the second part of your question was specifically about Abra and how safe is Abra, and then you asked about the interest rates. So here's how I answer that, right? There's a lot of technology answers that I can give around how we manage storage, how we deal with cold storage, how we deal with warm storage, trading, interest rates. I have a background in key management. I ran one of the first key management businesses when I was at Netscape in the 90s. So I know the right questions as a CEO to ask my team when we're doing things. A lot of CEOs don't, and I think maybe that's one advantage I have. But I'm also very comfortable to the point where all of my liquid cash is in Abra interest-earning accounts. All of my crypto is in Abra crypto accounts, and I have no intention of changing that ever. And if I need cash, it basically gets moved to the Abra cash account, and it gets taken out. And so sometimes I take the cash and I'm waiting for a pullback on a price, and I come back into Bitcoin or Ethereum, and that goes right back into the Abra interest account. So I only use that. The team basically designed it to be, let's call it the crypto bank that we wanted for ourselves. We went out and looked at all the other services out there that pay interest, that offer staking, and we said, here are our concerns. This is how we're going to do it for ourselves, and this is what we want. And that's why the management team exclusively does it this way. I'm really comfortable promoting that because I wouldn't manage my crypto and my dollars any other way. Now, in terms of the interest rates, that's a good question as well. So today we are paying 10% on dollars and 4.5% to 5% on Bitcoin, and that's completely based upon demand. In other words, what is the demand for US dollars in the crypto world, and what is the demand for borrowing crypto in the institutional crypto world? You can't do retail lending generally of crypto, but you can of dollars, right? And so the dollar demand has been very high for many, many months. When we had it tends to follow the price. So if the price pulls back a little bit, you'll see the demand for dollars come down. So like other services were very irresponsible and they've been raising and lowering rates all day long. We set the rates at $10 last summer and we haven't changed them since. And I don't think they're going to change anytime soon. I could be wrong. We review the rates every week, but right now I don't think the rates are going to change anytime soon. And yeah, the demand does go up and down, but we smooth that curve out a little bit by being a little bit more conservative with how we manage the rates. So we're not going to artificially pump rates up to 15% at the expense of our balance sheet, because that's bad for you, right? If Abra is losing money, then everybody's system is at risk, right? So we won't do things like that maybe some others have done in the past. All right, so I'm gonna.
Awesome.
Thanks for your questions, guys.
Can I ask one last
Yeah,
question?
go ahead, go for it.
Sorry, is it safe to assume that, like, with demand growing and like hedging mechanisms and institutional demand for borrowing, for derivatives play and all that, that demand will drive the interest rates higher by any chance, or at least stabilize them?
Yes.
And then, how do you feel about like competing, the decentralized computing platforms like Cardano impacting Ethereum's stronghold? And how do you feel about other platforms kind of inching into the competition space?
Yeah, all good questions. So let me let's see. So let me talk about the Cardano question and then move on, because we do have a few other folks here that want to ask. So I love competition in crypto, right? I got into cryptocurrencies because of Bitcoin, because of my interest in how it can solve problems related to banking globally long term. But I recognize that that Bitcoin is optimized for certain things that it's good at, and Ethereum is optimized for certain things that it's good at. And Ethereum is also unoptimized for scaling right now. And any other platform that pushes Ethereum to do better on the scaling front is extremely compelling to me, right? And so I think we need the technology competition to propel the space forward faster. Because there's certain things, for example, that Bitcoin and Ethereum, as the large players, are not going to take huge risks on doing, and they shouldn't. They shouldn't take risks on over-engineering their platforms too quickly, because that's a big danger to the networks. And so competition helps fill that gap. Whether it's Litecoin implementing Mimblewimble, or Cardano looking at throughput things that or staking faster than Ethereum might, for example, it all just propels the space forward, and I think it's a big deal. I actually do think that we're going to end up with a world where you're going to see multiple chains solving different real-world smart contract problems over time. I don't think it's going to be one chain. I think DeFi, for example, is mostly going to be Ethereum-based, but I wouldn't be surprised if stablecoins, for example, were multi-chain based, whether it's Cardano long-term or Ethereum or even Stellar, which we love at Abra. All these platforms are going to basically stake a claim to different components of all of this kind of global computer, virtual computing model over time. Okay. Jakob, thank you very much. Thanks, guys. Cameron, do you want to try one more time? Poor Cameron. Yeah, phone is just not cooperating, Cameron. I think your connection is just not good. Sorry, but I'm gonna have to boot you here. We've got too many folks waiting, and we've got thousands of people here. So I'm gonna move you down and ask you to get a better connection here for next time. Sorry for that. I'm gonna bring a couple other people up here. While I do that, let's see. So one person asked online here. Colin asked, who is the true custodian of the cryptocurrencies that Abra supports? So, Colin, that's a good question. So keep in mind that there's a few things going on with Abra. And the first is that we offer a trading service. We offer interest accounts. We do institutional lending. So there's lots of different custodians depending upon what's happening at any given time. So for example, if you're trading actively, the funds are available for trading, which means they're in effectively what we call a hot storage mechanism so that you can actually execute trades. If you're moving, we have probably 25%, 30% of our users literally go to cold storage after they do a trade. So they're taking the crypto offline and putting them in hardware wallets, which we're perfectly fine with that. I've done that on occasion. I don't do it anymore because I keep my crypto in the Abra interest account, but we have lots of users that do that. Then on the interest account side, we work with other custodians like Prime Trust and Fireblocks to basically sit under our API layer and manage cold storage for us for stuff that might be lent out to earn interest on your crypto. So it all depends upon what the use case is that you're using Abra for. But as I said, I think that we have the best security story in the crypto banking space, and I think it's getting better as we go. Okay, so good question there. Let me take one more question. Oh yeah, so I am getting a lot of questions, particularly here I see on the Facebook, the YouTube stream, from people who say they have applications that have been pending. If you've applied for an interest earning account in February in particular, and you didn't hear back from us, please send us an email today, right now, to support@abra.com, and we'll put you at the top of the queue. I apologize for that. We had an explosion in support requests related to interest earning accounts in February. We're getting through the backlog now, but we'll bump you to the top of the queue if you send us an email now. Hey, I see. Let's see. Who do we want to go to here? Sunil. Sunil, good morning, man. How's it going? I think you're on mute, but did you have a question for us?
Hey, Bill, this is Sunil. Thanks again for hosting this monthly crypto AMA. Really appreciate it. I got a question, a two-part question. One is, do you see more and more exchanges like Kraken and Coinbase getting into traditional banking services? And if so, what are the implications for independent wallets such as Abra?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think that the DNA is different, right? I mean, it's kind of like Microsoft getting into the phone space versus Apple. It's a DNA issue, right? I mean, Coinbase, Kraken, they're fantastic exchanges. A lot of our users, for example, at Abra and some of the other crypto kind of retail banking apps, our users don't actually know what an order book is or what a bid-ask spread is. Now, many do, and they don't care, but many have no idea what I just said. And so we're catering to a different type of consumer, and our bread and butter over time is going to be those retail banking services, whether it's earning interest, buying different types of investments in different cryptocurrencies, borrowing against your cryptocurrencies, eventually paying with cash and crypto, globally, using a stablecoin model, for example. So our DNA is very, very different. It's more about the retail consumer getting the most value that they can out of the crypto that they're holding, and being able to put it to work. And we're not catering to the pro trader or the trader who needs like a sophisticated API for basically comparing prices across different currencies and hedging and all that other fancy stuff that we do on the back end for our own books, but our consumers are more interested in the basics that I just talked about. Good question. Let's see. Radu, did you have a question for us?
Yes, I do. I have two basic questions. So right now, in order for me to move my Bitcoin into the Abra interest account, I'm being asked for a driver's license. But that's the one ID I don't have. Are you going to support other forms of ID, like passports or government ID?
Yeah, we actually can support a passport for you in the U.S., a little bit out of band. So if you send an email to support@abra.com and tell them that you want to use your passport, they can give you a way to send a passport. We just prefer in the U.S. the driver's license because it's way less error prone, and given the volume of new users we're getting, it's much easier to focus that. But I will tell you that if you go through support@abra.com, we'll work it out for you to take the passport for your ID. Okay.
Does a permanent resident card work as well?
I don't think so, but that would be a question for support. If support is, if you guys could let me know right now, I could answer the question. But I don't think that's the case. But if you have a permanent resident card, that means you have a passport, so you should be good to go either way. So.
Okay.
All right.
Then I have another question.
Go for it.
When will I be able to use a debit card with my Abra account?
When will I be? You can use a debit card today. So if you go to the Abra app, and I can do that while we're talking here. I'll try to bring up a demo. But if you go to the Abra app and you click on Add Money Deposits, there is a credit debit card function And as a matter of fact, debit cards generally are well supported globally. Credit cards is a bit hit or miss because some banks block credit cards. Abra doesn't, of course. But yeah, so if you just choose credit debit card, you just basically copy your Abra wallet into the function. We use Simplex for processing debit cards in our app, and you should have the Bitcoin within a few minutes via your bank. Okay.
Oh no, I mean the other way around. Spend.
Oh, spending. Okay, yeah,
Bitcoin.
sure.
Yes.
So that's a good question too. Look, so this is something that I would love to do, not just for debit but also for credit. Meaning, how can I borrow against my crypto balance and spend it at the point of sale? Or if I have stable coins in my Abra account, can I spend those at the point of sale as well? So I'm not going to pre-announce our roadmap today, but all I would say is it's something that we definitely want to do and we would love to offer. So just stay tuned, and maybe you'll get a pleasant surprise this year. But yeah, it's something that we've been pretty bullish on the idea for quite a while. Okay, let's see.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, thank you, Radu. So let's see. I've got a few more folks here. So let's go to Kimberly. Good morning.
Hey, Bill. How are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm fine. So I downloaded the Abra app about a week and a half ago,
Okay.
and I added my bank account. So ACH, a way to deposit into the Abra wallet. I can't do an ACH deposit yet for some reason.
Okay.
And then when I try to make a deposit through like a debit card, as the previous speaker was saying, it's saying that it doesn't follow the policy requirements. So I can't complete that transaction. So, and I'm pretty stuck. I haven't been able to find a resolution to this problem.
Okay, well, we have a fantastic support team that can help you. And so we are in the process also of upgrading the ACH to have higher limits and use a faster bank settlement time. So I would strongly encourage you to go that route. And if you're stuck on ACH, because it's all a little scary when you're using your bank account via an app for the first time, just what I would encourage you to do is take a screenshot. You know how to do that on your iPhone or Android phone, and of what you're doing. Send it to support@abra.com along with the wallet ID, and the wallet ID is in the menu in the upper left corner of your app, and they will tell you, and they can look in our system and see exactly what's going on for you, and get you sorted right away. Okay.
Okay.
And the response times there have been, during the week we're seeing like literally 1 hour response time. So it's been pretty good. I know we had a bunch of people waiting for a few days, but we've beefed up the team significantly in the last few weeks, and you should get a response right away.
Nice. Thank you so much, Bill.
You're welcome, Kimberly. Good luck with that. And let me know, ping me on Instagram or Twitter DM, and if you don't get a response, and I'll take care of you myself, okay?
Absolutely. I just wanted to also say that what got me into Abra was, I think you know him. Well, you do know him,
Rick.
I met him in Miami. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, right on. Brother Rick.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So he told me about you and about the app, and that's the easier way to get involved with Bitcoin.
Yep. We love
I
Rick.
was pretty excited.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you for letting me know.
All right.
Appreciate that.
Thanks, man.
All right.
No problem.
Have a great weekend.
Okay. You too.
Jarrett, how's it going? Good morning.
Hey, Bill. Hi.
Hi.
Long-time user of Abra. I go back to the days when you had agents out in the Philippines and so forth, and I really I missed that piece. I haven't heard your latest thoughts on government control and the potential of the U.S. governments and several others with the on-channel, on-chain piece, on the on-ramps rather. What are your thoughts long term, just from a macro perspective? I know you can't, predict immediately, but that's my only worry. Otherwise, I'm a total maximalist.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a fair question. I think that governments, by and large, can only use the banking system to either regulate / overregulate Bitcoin. And let's take the U.S. as a reasonable case, even though the way our banking regulation in general is a mess. But that's not crypto specific, right? That's just banking specific. Meaning there's way too many banking regulators and money transmission regulators in the United States. But the United States has taken a relative to money transfer and remittances and prepaid debit cards, has taken a mostly reasonable stance as it relates to crypto regulation via the banking system. The big exception is the state of New York, who has way too of a heavy hand on crypto regulation, which is why a lot of service providers in crypto don't support New York. Now, the opposite end of the spectrum would be India, where regulators have tried and failed, by the way, several times to simply put a blanket ban on banks touching crypto. Now, even recently, they tried again. I think like a month ago, they said they were going to try. And then last week, certain regulators came out and said, no, we get that we can't do that. We're going to actually take a step back and put reasonable oversight in place via the banking system. And so that seems to be the biggest risk in the short term. In the long term, there's nothing you can do. There's simply nothing you can do. The public is going to get what it wants. If it wants crypto as a better store of value, if it wants Bitcoin as digital gold, Ethereum, Cardano, Stellar as the mechanism for creating digital dollars, it's going to happen. I'm sorry, but there's very little that 10, 15, 20 years out that governments can do to really prevent that. In the short term, they can create lots of hiccups. The tokenization of securities is a totally different ballgame. The SEC is going to go super slow there. Congress in the U.S. is going to go super slow there. That's where I predict other countries like Singapore and other markets are going to be way ahead. Hong Kong, even Europe are going to move faster on the tokenization of securities than the United States is going to. That's a different issue. But by the way, our teller network, our cash network for adding cash to the Abra app is alive and well and actually growing globally. For those of you who are not in Southeast Asia or Central America or in the Middle East here, we actually run a cash network in those countries, in many of those countries, that allows you to deposit cash at the point of sale into the Abra app and have it show up as a stablecoin and then immediately convert to Bitcoin or move the cash directly into an interest earning account. And we get millions in cash deposits every week into the Abra app, and we love it. It's highly regulated. Everybody has to show their ID, and there's no kind of below ground kind of stuff going on here. But everybody that uses it loves it, and so yeah.
Well, that's how Abra came to my attention, because I have a multitude of various call center employees in the Philippines, and they really love the whole process, and that's what brought Abra to my attention.
Yeah.
I probably have used 8 to 10 different wallets of all kinds, and Abra is definitely my favorite. So thank you very much. Pleasure to talk to you. You dropped me back down into the audience now. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. I appreciate it. All right, so let me take a couple of questions online here. And McGregor asks, is there going to be an Abra coin? So, McGregor, I have no comment on that. So, let's see. Philip asks, will Abra enable staking on the platform? By the way, the demo function here on the screen is not working. I was hoping to show you that as I was talking, but that's why I have the demo up on the screen for those of you on YouTube. But McGregor, I'm sorry, Philip, back to your question on staking. So, yes, we are eventually going to allow you to stake certain tokens in the Abra interest account. I don't have an exact date for you. It's something that we're actively working on. I don't know which tokens, but it's coming, okay? Actually, I do know a couple of tokens, but I'm not going to tell you right now, but it's coming. Are there additional tokens for the Abra app and interest accounts? Was the same question. I think I answered that already. So, if you just look at the interest account, we support, let's see, I can bring it up here. And we support, in addition to Bitcoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, and then all the stable coins, TrueUSD, Tether, USDC, Paxos. So it's all good. All that stuff is supported. We are looking at adding others. people ask me all the time, hey, why am I not adding Digibyte, for example, which is really popular in Abra, or Stellar? Why are certain coins not added to the interest accounts? It's all about demand. So if there's borrowed demand to generate the interest in a very safe and responsible way, we'll do it. But for certain coins, we're not there yet. Okay. But I do expect that list to grow over time. And so one question here from Jay. He's got a bunch of comments. I hope Abra will support certain payment methods. He's talking about different payment methods in the Philippines. We do get a lot of users from the Philippines. I love the Philippines. I've been there many, many times, even with Abra in the early days. And yes, we are adding more payment types. So please stand by for that. Stay tuned. And let's see what else. I'm going to go to somebody here back to Clubhouse. I love Clubhouse. I love the live interaction because it gets a little lonely sometimes just reading here. So I'm going to add a few more people. If you've asked a question already, if you could move yourself back down to help me out, that would be great so I can keep track. Hey, Caesar, how you doing? Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Bill. Good morning to everyone. I really enjoyed using the Abra app, so I'm a fan.
Oh, thank you.
I have a couple questions probably there, too simple, but maybe you can help me out.
Okay.
Why the recovery phrase of Abra has 13 words instead of 12? That's the first one.
Yep.
And the second one would be, I heard a speech you gave to a university of, if I understood correctly, it was like Abra was kind of a synthetic wallet. I didn't understand it because it was very technical. Can you, if I understood correctly, what synthetic wallet means?
Yep. So let me take the second question first around synthetic assets. That's not something that Abra ourselves is offering. It's something that we have tested in the past, but it's not a live product. I think you're referring to the talk I gave at the MIT Bitcoin conference on synthetic assets, which is also on YouTube, and it is very technical. It's not for the faint of heart. But by the way, actually, I got a nice message from Gary Gensler, the new head of the SEC, after he watched the talk. So he actually referenced it in his MIT class the following week. He told me, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, it's not something that Abra actively uses in the app. The synthetic asset discussion is similar to how DAI works, for example, or how other like Synthetics, the protocol, the crypto protocol. If you're interested in that stuff, you can go watch the talk, and it'll give you some insights as to what's going on in the world of synthetic assets in cryptocurrencies, but not something that Abra explicitly supports. The recovery phrase is specific to Abra, meaning that the 12 words are the standard for Bitcoin, and there's one other component that is specific to the Abra wallet. And that mechanism will be replaced with a new two-factor auth mechanism in the next few weeks. So stand by for that. But yeah, the recovery phrase is a combination of the standard 12-word model for Bitcoin plus a other component that identifies the wallet specifically as an Abra wallet when you're recovering. So I hope that makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense in a way that function, but why or do we have to be concerned that is an address for saying something to Abra and not directly to your funds?
No. You're always recovering. The recovery phrase is always validated on the phone itself. Abra doesn't actually parse it. It never leaves the phone. And keep in mind that Abra is a custodial wallet, which means you're managing your crypto on Abra. We're simply using the key on the phone, the private key on the phone, to identify you as an individual user. We're not using it to store funds on the phone itself. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm clear.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Caesar. Thank you. Let's go to Dylan. Good morning, Dylan.
Hey, Bill, I appreciate you so much.
Thanks, man.
If it's not clear, the fact that you make yourself so available to everybody, I just admire the heck out of it, man. So thank you.
Yep, my pleasure.
I had contacted you on Clubhouse, I guess, a few weeks ago. I'm a crypto reporter. I'm dying to get on your calendar in the right way. I had spoken to Tim about this. We had a nice long chat to make sure that I wasn't some scammy huckster. I promise you I'm not. But
Okay.
I can't.
So
there's a disconnect, man. I'd love
sure.
to close the loop here.
Okay, well, bill@abra.com. Send me a note. We'll figure it out. Okay?
Thank you so much, Bill. Appreciate
All right. Appreciate that. Let's go to Chris. Good morning, Chris.
Bill, how you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself? Beautiful Saturday morning. You can see behind me. It's a beautiful day. So after we're done here in a couple hours, I'm going to go for a long run and enjoy my weekend. What's going on?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I was actually going to do the same, but just want to give you props because I know Abra's been in the game for so long, and I'm so happy just to see a lot of the new features like interest. And personally, I haven't. I need to go get Abra because I actually have so many accounts like Kraken, Coinbase, of course, and just so many. But no, I should really do it, But my question was, do you have any plans to work with NFTs or kind of offer any functionality in that regard?
Yeah, great question. I'm a big fan of the NFT model. So as a reminder, I talked about it at the beginning. We've had a bunch of people join since the beginning of the broadcast. Let me remind everyone, NFTs, non-fungible tokens, basically are a way of using smart contracts like Ethereum. The same way you can use Ethereum smart contracts to create a stable coin like USDC or Tether that are fungible, meaning one Tether is always equal to somebody else's Tether. You can create non-fungible tokens such that my crypto kitty is not equal to your crypto kitty, or my digital baseball card of Alex Pujols is different from your digital baseball card of Mickey Mantle. So this idea of digital collectibles and digital art is booming already, and we're seeing auctions, digital art auctions to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay, so I would love to figure out as the space grows to how to support NFTs safely, responsibly in the Abra app without people ending up getting scammed and losing a lot of money, and also create even a kind of self-service art community where people can start to create their own art objects, like almost like in a YouTube model. So that's something that we've been considering. Would love user feedback. If you want to send me a note, a DM on Twitter, or email to bill@abra.com and let me know your thoughts if that's something you would use. Or there's a separate email we set up for questions and comments called hello@abra.com. All of that works. But yeah, this is something I'm really excited about. It's very, very early. We want to tread carefully because I don't want to basically enable a system where 90% of users are simply throwing away money on something that they think is an investment that's going to have a return. And so I don't want to be the arbiter of how people invest. That's not our goal at Abra. But we also want to do this in a responsible way. But I'm repeating myself, but really excited about the NFT space. I'm a huge digital art fan. I love doing the painting in my VR headset, and so, for example, I'm a big fan of where the digital art scene is going, music, and other forms of art as well. So if you're on Clubhouse, there's been a whole bunch of NFT sessions going on lately that you can listen in on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, whole world of new potential with all types of new mediums and art forms and monetization models. It's totally fascinating. So yeah, well, thank you for answering. I'll reach out. Thanks.
Yep. Cool. I've got an Abra-specific question here from Constantine. It's a good one. On the interest-bearing accounts, since Abra is the custodian, what would happen with my funds in the unlikely event of Abra going out of business? Very good question. So when you're using the interest-bearing accounts, you're actually moving your funds into a subsidiary of Abra whose balance sheet exists solely to manage your funds. And so Abra's balance sheet itself is not commingled with consumer funds ever. We don't do that. And so I think we may even have a couple of board members here on the line. They can attest to the fact that when we report all this stuff at the board level, it's a separate reporting of consumer funds and Abra funds. And so if Abra was to go out of business, which is unlikely to happen, we're a fast-growing, profitable company, but your funds are separate from Abra funds, and you have the ability to withdraw your funds. We also maintain, I should explain, we maintain significant reserves in the interest accounts for daily withdrawals and processing of that as well. Hope that helps. Kingsley asks, what happened to Dash and why is it no longer available on Abra? So Kingsley, Dash is no longer available in the U.S. It's available outside the U.S. And the reason for that is our custodian that we currently use on the trading side of the app decided to stop supporting a couple of the so-called privacy tokens in the U.S. We don't know why. I've talked about this publicly that we don't know why they did that, and they won't tell us. We're hoping to get them back at some point. I have no visibility into them being added back. But in my opinion, there was no good reason to take them off in the first place. And so I'm hoping that they simply get added back very, very soon. Okay, so I've got some more questions here coming in. And can you talk about fees in Abra? Sure, I'd be happy to talk about fees. So when you're using the Abra app and you're trading, right? So you want to buy $5,000 worth of Bitcoin. You deposit $5,000 via ACH or bank wire or cash if you're in a country where we support cash or debit card. You immediately press exchange that you see at the top of the screen on the left, and you can convert that cash to Bitcoin. We simply give you a price, and you accept the price, and that price will include generally a very small spread that basically goes to cover Abra's cost of processing the transaction. And there's a few factors that go into that I won't bore you with. And then a small fee for Abra is built into that spread. And on the interest earning accounts, the vast majority, like 80+% of the interest is meant to go to the consumer. Abra doesn't touch it. It's the opposite of what a bank does, right? So the vast majority of the interest goes to the consumer, and Abra will get, significantly smaller piece. And so that, but, if we're holding billions of dollars of assets, then, that allows us to maintain a healthy profit margin while still providing most of the interest that we pay out to the consumers. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, so we're going up on 10 o'clock Pacific here. I'm going to end the live stream in a couple of minutes. I'm happy to keep going on Clubhouse if anybody else has any questions. I'm going to bring up a couple of other people here, and I'm happy to keep going. Somebody asked, is Abra going to support the XEM airdrop? April asks. April, I actually don't know the answer to that, but I will find out for you from my team. If anybody from my team knows if we've committed to that yet, let me know. I don't know offhand. There's so many of these upgrades and airdrops happening. I can't, and I can't see it. So Mark asks, if I'm seeing messages about Abra stock or Abra being up 17%, is that a scam message? Yes, it is. Abra is not a publicly traded company. You cannot invest directly in Abra as an individual. So I would be very wary of that. Let me talk about scams for a second. This pisses me off to no end. So if you're on Facebook or Twitter and Instagram, I'm so sorry. There are so many people creating imposter accounts of myself, of Abra, and other Abra employees. We will never contact you and ask you to send us crypto, to send us money, to invest in something, to give us your recovery phrase. And please report these accounts to social media if you do, and block them right away. And it's getting out of control.
How's my connection now?
Oh, Cameron, perfect. There you go. What's your question, man?
Hi, Bill.
Hi.
Apologies for my connection before.
Oh, good.
I want my question was, I don't know, I kind of missed half of the conversation, so I don't know if it's already been asked, but
Sure.
A little bit about myself. I've been in the crypto space for some time, and I was quite an early Abra user. And one of the things that really drew me into the app that you were building and a lot of the promotion that you were doing at the time when you were launching, you were really pushing the non-custodial narrative. And I'm curious to know the decision on your behalf to really transition from a non-custodial solution to a custodial solution.
Yeah.
And what the repercussions were that happened during that process. Because for me, myself, that kind of really pushed me away from Abra just based on the fact that I'm a bit of a crypto native individual.
Sure.
I'm involved in the space. I'm not, I'm participating in a lot of the DeFi stuff. And for me, my keys, my coins is really something that I really hold by. So I'm curious to know the business decision behind that. And sorry to ramble on, but I'm curious to know whether the likes of Celsius and these other platforms that have done very well as custodial solutions,
if the direction that they were going in really contributed to that decision-making process, and whether, an Abra token is, on the horizon for you guys. I'm curious to know if that's a part of your journey.
Right. So the last question is the easiest because I can't comment. Keep asking, and maybe at some point the answer will be different. But right now I can't comment on any kind of Abra token or anything like that. But your question around the migration of custodial to non-custodial service was a good one, or is a good one. And let me explain. So what Cameron means is that today Abra is managing your crypto for you. We're a crypto bank. And in the past, we actually basically let you manage the keys for the crypto on your phone. The reason we changed that is really threefold. One, the vast majority of customers we talked to didn't want it, meaning that they were very uncomfortable managing their own keys. They didn't want to deal with the recovery phrase. It was too tech, laden of a process for them. Number two, when we talked to people who did want to manage their own crypto, they were actually interested in using Abra as a way to exchange and maybe eventually earn interest and borrow. But they were totally fine managing the crypto via hardware wallets when they weren't trading. And as I said earlier, something like 25 to 35% of people who transact on Abra come in and out via hardware wallet, same day, meaning they deposit, they trade, they get out. So they'll go from Bitcoin to stablecoin, stablecoin to Bitcoin, Ethereum to Bitcoin, whatever they're doing, and they'll manage and withdraw directly to a hardware wallet, which you can easily do with Abra. The third is basically this idea that you can borrow and earn interest on your deposits. And when we were designing this product, to your earlier question, we didn't do it because of competitors in the space or what other companies are doing it. We did it because of what we wanted ourselves. The space is evolving, and we see the future of crypto banking as being one about control. And that means that if I want to manage via a hardware wallet, I can take my money out. If I want to deposit and earn interest, I can do that. And if I want to trade, I can do that. And we want to basically be the service that lets you decide what control means to you. And honestly, I want to earn interest on my crypto. I want to earn 10% on my dollars and 5% on my Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I want to do it in a way that's safe and responsible. And I said, okay, guys, let's design a service at Abra that we ourselves are finally comfortable using. And that's what we did. And so it's ultimately about control.
It makes sense. I'm just curious, just to play devil's advocate, you can look at the, two sides of the coin, and you can look at something like Argent, which also has, similar principles and ideas of, banking the unbanked and offering a variety of financial services to individuals.
Yep.
But for those guys, they have opted to really use, the decentralized finance protocols as their means of offering their users these types of services, such as loans and borrowing and all that sort of stuff. Are you guys, I can understand though, I can imagine, your response would be here is that, those things are inefficient, the gas fees and obviously the smart contract risk. But is that something which is also, for the future of Abra, will you be incorporating these decentralized solutions, or are you still, questioning the long-term viability of those types of solutions?
So I understand. Just in the interest of time here. So I totally get it. We love DeFi and the DeFi model, and we think it's a big part of the future of banking and investing. However, on the other hand, it's not ready for prime time for the average user to be managing their dollars via DeFi. And so we've been having raging debates about how do we responsibly add DeFi? Is it ready? Can we actually manage money that way via the Abra app for masses? Remember, we have over like 1.5 million wallets doing lots of different things in the Abra app. And we run from the gamut of, people who don't come from a computer science background and probably don't understand your question to, PhDs in computer science who insist on, doing a lot of things themselves. And so catering to that retail banking consumer that makes everybody happy is really hard, number one. But that's my job. I'm okay with that. But number two, it's got to be done in a way that works. And DeFi is not reliable enough yet for me to be saying, okay, as a management team, we're going to put our money in this, and we're going to tell all of our other users they should put their money in this to earn their 10% on dollars or 4% on Bitcoin or whatever DeFi pays today. I think it's going to get there, but between scalability issues, hack issues for contracts, and all the other things that you pointed out yourself, we're not quite there yet. I'm super bullish on it. I use it myself on occasion. Argent's a good product. I think Abra's better today for the average retail user, but the space is evolving quickly, and we're just getting started with DeFi. And like I said, I'm super excited about it, and I think it is a big part of the future of banking. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Makes sense.
Thanks, Cameron. Let's do one more via YouTube here, and then I'll come back here, and then we'll end the live stream, and I'll keep going on Clubhouse for anybody who wants. And let's see if a lot of questions that are repeat. If I'm living in Europe, can I add a bank account from Guatemala? So, Carolina, if you go to abra.com, there is a mechanism for buying Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, or even loading stablecoins into your Abra app directly from the Abra website. So go to abra.com, either on your iPhone or from your laptop, and it'll ask you which country you're in, which payment mechanism you want to use, and it's kind of a backdoor way of depositing via any bank account, any card, even cash networks all over the world into the Abra app. I don't talk about it very much, but it's a marketplace basically that we run on abra.com, and it's actually booming with no marketing. It's just taken off. You can go to abra.com. It will show you for any country, any payment type you choose, what it will cost and how to get that crypto into the Abra app quickly directly from the Abra website. Okay, so I'm going to basically say thank you to everybody on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Periscope. You guys are awesome. The video will be up to share with your friends in a few minutes on all those channels. So have a great weekend. And so everybody on Clubhouse, stick around. We're going to keep going. I'm going to sign off and say happy weekend to everybody on the live stream. And we'll see you on Crypto Bytes, our 5-minute